So now that I have your attention, this is part two of the stock market update. And we're looking to see if there's any light at the end of the tunnel. Now, in part one, we took a look at the 6-month daily on the spiders. And in part two, we're going to look at the weekly and the daily charts to pull it all together. So let's go. Looking at the 20-year monthly chart on the spiders, and we can see that the price dropped all the way down to the 50 EMA here, and it's bouncing up against the 20 EMA there. And as I talked about in part one, I think we're going to have a consolidation, one more turn on the way down, but we'll see. But the main thing that we're looking at here in the monthly chart is going to be the MAC. You see how the fast line has come through the slow line. So we're definitely on our way down. And we haven't hit bottom yet. We don't see any kind of curve over of the fast line yet, as we did here at that point, perhaps back here in 2009, and then back here in 2003. So this one here in 2001 was kind of a head fake. This one here was just a turn and off and away we went, but we had some intervention by the Fed at this point, so that is somewhat understandable. And we did have a little bit of an attempt there, but failed. So we want to see the attempt and we want to make sure that it doesn't fail, but we don't see any turn yet. Moving here into the histogram, there's nothing there showing us that the slowdown or the downtrend has stopped. The price rate of change has this little small fishhook, but we can't really rely on that too much yet because there's still a big difference between the fast line and the slow line there. We need something that's going to start bottoming like this here. I doubt we're going to have this. This is a very sharp turn. It's possible, but not likely. Most of the time, the bottoms go like this, where there is a longer term process. So I'm looking for that process. We don't see it here in the RSI either. We don't see it in the stochastics. Still a very big difference between the fast line and the slow line here, heading on down. And the volume looks fine. Williams, just like the other oscillators, no real sign of a bottoming process. So that is the risk going in and buying at this point in time. I want to see some signs from these oscillators on a monthly basis start to bottom before I'm really going to be interested. But now let's just go and look at the weekly and see what that shows. We're now looking at the 5-year weekly on the spiders, and I'm using the 5-year to give us some context with regard to 2015 and 2016, the two consolidations at that point and that point here. Now, we've come all the way down to the 200 EMA here, and actually went through it, and we're heading on up. I think we're going to have some resistance here, and I think we're going to perhaps turn back and head down again, as we talked about in part number one. But then again, in part number one, what we're talking about is the spiders. Now, the definite bottom or a bear market in the value stocks is ending, but I don't think the bear market in the spiders is ending yet at this point. And in order to take a look at the monthly, we don't see any changes, but we can front run that by looking here at the weekly. But there is a risk to that front running. The monthly lags. It's a lagging indicator compared to the weekly, but you can get an idea of what's going to happen in the monthly when you take a close look at the weekly. And as we have here, we've had this pretty good run in the last couple of weeks on its way up here, but I think it's going to stall and head down. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the MAC. At the MAC, as opposed to the monthly, we do see an attempt at a bottoming process here. Maybe not unlike back here in 2016 and then 2015, but there still is a big difference between the fast line here and the slow line, and then that means there can be some volatility. We have a very deep histogram at that point showing that things did sell off pretty hard after that attempt consolidation there. But into the price rate of change also shows we had this bounce here, and we are now looking like the fast line wants to move through the slow line on the weekly here. We'll just have to wait and see if that happens. But you go back here and you have some other examples of bottoming process that the price rate of change does when it is showing a change in the market. So you can take a look at that and see that, okay, we are improving, definitely improving. RSI definitely show a bottoming process there. Down into the stochastic, that also shows that's the bottom there. The fast line has moved through the slow line. So look at these examples of the way that the fast line has moved through, and by those examples, I think the bottoming process is definitely occurring right now. So moving into the volume, we have a slight increase in the volume, but nothing out of the ordinary. A definite bottoming process in the Williams. Back up to the price chart. So again, this is a pretty sharp rebound here, so I do expect at least a little bit of retracement on that. So let's now go back to the 6-month daily to see what that looks like and what an expected retracement would be. So now we're back to the 6-month daily chart, and being that we've already gone through this in part 1, I'll go through it again, but much more quickly. So we have the bottom here. We ran up through the 20 EMA, and it looks like we're bouncing up against the 50 EMA, and I expect a topping process in there for preparation of a retracement into, say, next week or the week after, something like that. I'm looking for perhaps a 1/3 to a 50% retracement. It's possible we can go even further down here, but I want to see a successful test of this bottom. If we have a successful test, then those green lights for investing are going to start opening up. They start flashing for you. MACD heading on up, still a pretty big difference between fast line and the slow line, but I do expect that this is going to turn at some point here pretty soon, shown by the histogram there. You can see the slight turning over. Price rate of change still heading on up. RSI looks like it's rolling over. Stochastic is in the overbought territory. It's not going to stay up there very long. Volume slightly negative in my opinion. Not a real big concern, but still slightly negative. And then the Williams, we're in the overbought territory. We have been for a while. We're not going to stay up there very much longer. I expect consolidation of the price to come down here. And again, although the monthly doesn't show any changes yet or bottoming process, you can front run that with the weekly. That shows the possibility, the prospect of some bottoming process starting. The daily certainly shows some bottoming process, but I want to see a successful test there. Now, once again, the bear market in value stocks is ending. That's a great place to go and invest in. With growth stocks, you want to pay close attention to the S&P. And whatever your stock you're looking at, you want to go from the monthly to the weekly to the daily, and that'll give you an idea if the bottoming process is in and if it's time to buy. So look at those opportunities, but do your homework as well as on the fundamentals on all your stocks that you're looking at. I think we have a good buying opportunity that we're heading into here. So play your cards right and you can make some big money in 2019. So for today, that's Chew Dog Charts. Thank you.